First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for putting a padlock on my son's bedroom door? My female 41, son 22, left for basic training last Friday. I cried for days and I miss him very much. He called once to let me know that he was safe, but I most likely will not get to talk to him for the next 12 weeks. I went to grocery store on Sunday, and when I came home, I heard my daughter, 16 female, screaming at my middle son, 20 male. When I went to see what was going on, I saw my middle son carrying a laundry basket full of my oldest son's clothes and his PS4. I also saw my husband, 42 male, all of my kids' bio father, putting the rest of his things in garbage bags. My daughter was screaming at both of them to put everything back, and that it was Trev's things and not garbage. I asked both my husband and middle son what on earth was going on. My son said that his father told him he could take what he wants. At that point, I was livid with both of them and said that this was still Trev's home, and that until he told me otherwise, those were still his things and they will be kept in his room until he asks for them. My husband said that it didn't matter. Trev was a man now, and his home would be wherever the military sent him. I told my husband that he was being cruel to Trev and that this would always be his home. My daughter was hysterical at this point, and I told them both that they were despicable for treating his room and things like a shopping mall. The next day, I went out and bought a padlock for his bedroom door, and I have one key in the glove box of my car, and the other will be taken to my office and locked in my filing cabinet. When my husband saw the padlock, he flipped and told me that I was being overdramatic, and that this was his house and he would just take a crowbar and pry it off. I told my husband and Jeff that if I saw either of them in that room again, or found that someone tampered with the lock, they would both be out of the house. My husband is now calling me a grieving war widow, and my middle son is saying that he is entitled to the bigger room now that Trev is gone. Meanwhile, all of this drama is making Trev leaving harder on my poor daughter, who is truly having a hard time with her big brother being gone. My husband is demanding I take the lock off the door and let him clean out the room. I refused to do this and told him that the only way the room is getting cleaned out would be if Trev no longer wants to live here. Am I the a-hole for putting a padlock on the door? Now for the top comments before the poster's little update. Not the a-hole. Will your other son have all of his things put into trash bin bags too? You know, since he's a man as well. If your middle son wants a bigger room, he is welcome to find one in his own apartment, with his new roommate, your husband. Best of luck to your son, and thank him for his service. Stay strong, mama. She should tell Jeff that since he is a man, it's time to throw his stuff out and then proceed to do it. I agree. I am even more shocked that two grown men did this in front of a crying teenage girl, and not once thought maybe we should stop. It's truly disturbing. Not at a-hole. I feel like a room switch could be negotiated with your sons in 12 weeks, but there's no reason at all for them to be stealing and throwing away Trev's things. They're still his things. Even if he ends up living elsewhere, one assumes he, wants his stuff. What if Trev doesn't make it through basic? Not only does he have to deal with all the emotional baggage of that, and then seeing what his family did to his room and his stuff. What the hell? I can sort of understand swapping rooms, but taking his stuff? I wouldn't do that to a roommate. Forget family. What the hell? Sorry I had to say it more times. My parents had some of my stuff 20 years after I lived there. It was boxed up in a crawl space, but it wasn't thrown out without my knowledge. Of course Soapy is not a hole. Wow, it is super weird to me that your other son and your husband are acting like Trev is dead, not just to wait 12 weeks. Did they hate Trev or something? It sure seems like they do, considering they're literally stealing his stuff, his space, everything. Apparently without ever having discussed it with him beforehand. And their disrespect for your empty nest syndrome is also weird. It feels like they're being super passive-aggressive towards him, and you and your daughter by extension. And with that this is his house crack, I'm wondering if there's some kind of beef between your husband and Trev that your husband has waited till now to vent. Or maybe he's just feeling threatened by the fact that Trev is a man now. I have no suggestions on how to get past this, because I can't see how you get past such disrespectful, cruel behavior. I'm sorry your husband and son are a-holes, not a-hole. Now for the update. I went to bed shortly after I wrote this post and wanted to thank everyone for commenting, even the negative ones. To answer a few questions. 1. I spoke to Jeff this morning and asked if he had talked to Trev prior to him leaving about taking his PS4 and clothes, and he admitted he did not. I told him that he was stealing his brother's belongings and he had until noon today to return all of them. He agreed reluctantly to return everything. I told Jeff that if I saw him near his brother's room again, he would have to find some place else to live because I would not have my children stealing from each other, especially when the other child is not here. 2. I spoke to my husband this morning as well and asked why he did what he did. He has admitted that he is having a difficult time with Trev being gone, and anytime he walked past his room, he was reminded that he isn't here anymore. He broke down and said that he missed him, and he was sorry. He too agreed that what they were doing was wrong, and said that he would put everything back the way it was until Trev came home and decided what to do with his things, / what he planned to take when he got to his permanent duty station. My husband is former Navy, and he said that he is not there to protect his son, and he is scared. He has seen combat and does not want his son to have to see the things that he saw. 3. The entire family agreed that Trev's room would be left the way it was while he was in boot camp / training school, especially since he was only able to take his clothes on his back and his phone when he left for basic. The agreement was that when he was sent to his permanent duty station, he would make an inventory of the items he needed and we would store / donate what he did not want and ship the things that would not fit into his suitcase. 4. My daughter and her Bubba are very close. This transition has been very hard on her, which in turn has made things worse for me because not only am I concerned about my son, but I'm concerned about my poor daughter who is clearly struggling with him being gone. My husband and I discussed it, and we think it is wise to find her someone to talk to, or even a sibling support group for active duty military where she can go and talk about her feelings and fears. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my husband a taste of his own medicine and buying him a generic gift for his birthday? Okay, so here's the deal. Every time any celebration comes up, whether it be my husband's birthday, Valentine's Day, Christmas, Easter, you get the gist, I always try to go above and beyond and get my husband a meaningful gift. It usually is something particular to do with his hobbies. Items from a clothing brand he likes, useful gifts, games I know he wants. I always put loads of thought into the gifts and the packaging, etc. In return, for example, on my birthday, I got a card and a candle set. I have migraines, anything scented is no-go. And for Christmas, I didn't even get a card. Just a second-hand mini Hoover that I had to buy the plug and filter for myself, mind you. I do not expect the world from him, and I've told him if he struggles with gift ideas, to just ask me, or get me a card and some flowers, but he never listens. This has been going on for years, and every time his birthday or any other holiday comes up, I ensure to give him really personalized gifts. Yet, I always receive very random things that I just have no use for. We've had so many conversations about this, but he hasn't changed at all. So this year, I was upset because I subconsciously had so many awesome gift ideas planned out for him, but I thought back to the last time he gifted me that second-hand, half-put-together mini Hoover, and thought, hey, if he doesn't want to put in any effort, why should I? So I got him some new underwear and socks, which he actually needed, lol, and a card and flowers. When I gave him the gifts, he looked disappointed. He asked if he'll get his second half after dinner, and I said no. These are your gifts. He got very sulky and snappy with me afterwards, and I think it definitely soured the evening with that. He didn't call me an a-hole straight up, but did say I wasn't nice for not putting in much effort like I usually do. I told him this is about as much effort as he puts in for me, every single holiday. He got mad and left to go to the bedroom, where he still is now. So, am I the a-hole for showing the same amount of effort and giving my husband such generic gifts? Not the a-hole. I told him this is about as much effort as he puts in for me, every single holiday. He got mad and left to go to the bedroom. He's mad because you're right, and he left because he has no way of justifying his lack of consideration / effort. You've talked to him about this before, told him to ask you for gift ideas or just give you flowers, and he simply hasn't bothered. But with the complete lack of care he shows you, he feels entirely entitled to you going above and beyond for him. He's an a-hole, and he needs to change. 100%. He can rot until he changes. Not the a-hole, and all of these stories that get posted of extremely thoughtless, lazy, and / or disappointing husbands are way too common. It's because our society makes it okay for men to be inept as husbands and fathers. I don't watch much TV anymore, but it's treated as humorous for men to suck at domestic labor. I'm just aghast at how many posts here have men hide in their man caves, playing video games or watching porn while all the dishes / childcare / pet care / cooking / cleaning gets shoved off onto the women in their lives. The next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole if I tell my wife I don't want to have kids because I don't think she can look after them well?" I've 32 male been married to my wife, 29 female, for about 7 years. We have discussed having kids before, but we always had to wait a couple of years until our careers were more stable. We've been enjoying our child-free lives, but about a year back, we decided things were going pretty well for us and thought it's about time we had our baby. Working from home also frees up a lot of time for extracurricular activities. We haven't had any luck so far, but we're having the when it happens mentality, so we're not rushing anything. Sometime around October last year, wife suggested that we should get a puppy. We're both animal lovers, and we thought it was a great time since both of us would be at home and we could watch over and house train it. We got the puppy, and we both love him dearly. But ever since we got him, I've had to bathe, feed, and clean up after him. Don't get me wrong, she helps out as well, but I would say it's a 90-10% ratio. It gets extremely tiring after a while, and sometimes I just want to kick my feet up, have a nice beer, and watch TV without being interrupted with, "Hey, the puppy just peed. Can you come clean it up?" It carried on for a couple of months, and a couple of nights ago after a long Zoom session for work, I exploded and told her that she needs to do her share of looking after the puppy, and I'm tired of being the one who does all the work. She told me I was being calculative and trying to undermine her. I told her that it's clear that I've been doing all the dirty work, and all she wants to do is play with the puppy. This is where I might have gone too far. I told her if I can't trust her to look after our puppy, how can I trust her to look after a baby? If we had a baby, I won't be able to take cleaning up after him all the time, and she had to do her share as well. If she was going to act the same way, I would rather not have a kid. She screamed at me, burst out into tears, and left the house. She has been staying at her parents' for a few days now, but things don't really seem to be improving. Her parents are telling me it was a horrible thing to say, as looking after a puppy is not the same as a baby, and that she would make a great mom, and that I should come over and apologize to make things right. Personally, I feel like it was harsh, yet I had to make a stand. I wouldn't know what to do if a baby comes along and she continues acting the same way. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for the way I acted? Now for the top comments. Coming from someone who does have kids, not the a-hole. Her response is typical of someone who lacks insight and objectivity. Yes, a dog and a child are not the same, but people who act this way often carry it into parenthood. If you ask me, you dodged a bullet here. Do not reproduce with this person if you want equality in a relationship. I'm afraid because we were able to come to a decision well with most other stuff like family, finances, and chores. But with the puppy, it just seems like she doesn't want to do the dirty work, and I'm not really sure why. Speaking to her doesn't really help either because she brushes it off. She screamed and burst into tears because you were 100% right. Maybe you were the a-hole, but that doesn't mean you were wrong. I think your last sentence sums up a lot of posts on the sub. Brutal honesty is usually seen as an a-hole move because it's very rarely warranted. However, in the cases we see here, things have usually escalated to a point where the harsh truth is needed. Not an a-hole. Yeah, it was a harsh thing to say, and in the future you need to talk about this sort of stuff rather than holding it in until you explode. But your logic isn't exactly off the mark. A puppy is a hell of a lot easier to care for than a human. So if she's doing close to nothing and relying completely on you, and you may not have the time to do the same for a child, then I just reiterate what I started with, that you should communicate these things earlier to avoid a blow-up situation. We have spoken about it before, but she often brushes it off. She feels that by playing with the puppy during the day, she has done her part, and somehow my explanation doesn't get through her. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not siding with my husband after what he told my parents? Me, female 25, and my husband Leo, male 27, have been married for 2 years. He and his family always struggled financially. He lost his mom at a young age, is now in no contact with his father because of his stepmother's treatment. He didn't have much when I met him. He's a very emotional and prideful person. Sometimes tends to be irrational. He injured his leg 6 months ago in a truck accident. He's using crutches, unable to walk without them, and can't work. He doesn't have a degree, but used to work in construction. He has an ongoing pain. And medication isn't helping, and I'm worried about it. I have a job that's barely enough. My parents are supportive. They'd send groceries, blankets, come over and help out with some stuff. Leo's always shown them appreciation, and they consider him their son. A few days ago, he's been talking about whether my parents can help him pay for his surgery so he could work again. I told him my parents don't have $17,000 to help with the surgery, and our talk ended. Yesterday, we were visiting my parents. We were sitting talking when Leo started complaining about his leg and being unable to work, and went on about the cost of surgery to my parents, and they nodded, feeling sorry for us. Leo asked them if they could help by giving us $17,000 for the surgery. My dad politely told him they don't have that kind of money. Then Leo, out of nowhere, mentioned my sister's college fund and asked if they could use some of it to help out. I was shocked. My dad started berating him for bringing it up and told him that this is their daughter's future that they don't take lightly. Said he didn't appreciate Leo's inconsiderate behavior to be asking this, but Leo kept talking about paying them back. But how can he pay back $17,000? He looked at me almost tearing up. Then my dad asked us to leave because he thought I agreed with Leo, but I was dumbfounded. I had no idea I'd do this. We got home. Leo was upset I let my parents berate him. Said he was stunned by my reaction and said that he's my husband and I'm the one who knows how much he's suffering and should understand his situation. We had an argument. I lashed out at him. I told him he had no right to even mention my sister's future and put me and my parents in this awful situation. I told him to stop it after he said he'd pay them back, but we both know he won't be able to. After arguing, I left the room to calm down. I was surprised to see him crying in the room. I felt terrible, mostly helpless because I understand he's looking for help. But my parents are upset with me now and I can't even call them. My sister is 16. I wish I could say no a-holes here because the desperation of your husband hits me hard. I feel a little bummed that there's going to be a flood of comments berating him for the horrible behavior, but I kinda get it. Constant pain makes you go crazy. Pride is even harder to swallow when you feel useless all the time. The anxiety of astronomical medical bills in the United States is a nightmare. Of course, even so, his behavior was unacceptable and crossed into a-hole territory. Therefore, not a-hole. Best of luck, Opie. Please reach out to your parents. Please communicate with your husband. I'm really hoping you guys get on the same page. I think the core verdict here is FPHITA. For-profit healthcare is the a-hole. Not the a-hole. It sure takes a certain amount of something to ask your in-laws to give you your sister-in-law's college fund after your wife told you they could not afford to do so. I understand he is in pain, but that does not excuse his behavior, and the fact has made it so your parents are also upset with you is pretty horrible. I don't know, as someone who suffers from chronic pains as a result of a childhood accident, so slightly different situation from Opie's husband, there are times when I'm just so done with everything that I beg anyone for help. I can't help but empathize with Opie's husband because I remember how absolutely painful it was knowing treatment existed, but it was too expensive for me to afford. My injury became not just physical, but also mental. I feel like the biggest a-hole here is life and whatever insurance system, I'm guessing US but not sure, exists that makes necessary treatments $17,000. Added to clarify that I agree with not an a-hole. I'm just having a hard time calling the husband an a-hole. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my daughter's college fund after she chose her deadbeat bio mom? I'm a single dad to my 18-year-old daughter Emma. Her bio mom left us when she was young, and I've raised her with the help of my wife, who has been a wonderful mother figure. Recently, Emma started reconnecting with her bio mom, and I initially supported this, hoping it would be a positive experience. However, it quickly became apparent that her bio mom hadn't changed. Emma began making excuses for her and started exhibiting increasingly hostile behavior toward my wife. She would say things like, "Maybe I'll just move in with my mom and leave you both behind," and "You're not my real mom anyway, so what do you care?" It escalated to threats where she implied she would ruin our lives if we'd try to stop her from pursuing this relationship. During a heated argument, Emma expressed her desire to move in with her bio mom. This was the breaking point for me. Feeling that I needed to set boundaries, I decided to cut off her college fund and told her she had to leave our home. Since then, my family has been vocal about their disapproval. They believe I should have been more understanding and that I overreacted. Some even argue that I'm pushing her further away and harming our relationship permanently. They think I should have tried harder to support her rather than resorting to such drastic measures. Am I the a-hole for taking this step, or was I justified in cutting her off? Edit, my daughter also accused me of always loving my wife over her, but it was the other way around. Her biological mother abandoned us, and now she confides in her. Now for the top comments before reading the mini updates. Just let her figure out that her bio mom is a POS. That's the best way to go about it. This is the best advice right here. Kinda similar situation for me. Mom left when I was 3 and didn't want anything to do with me. I tried to reconnect with her in high school and held her on a pedestal for some reason. She didn't show up for my graduation, wedding, birth of my first child. At that point, mid-20s, it finally hit me what kind of mother she is. OP, it may take some time and some big milestones, but your daughter will see her mom for who she is. Just be there for her and don't trash talk her mom. I have mad respect for my dad because of it, and we are super close. Oh, and guess who's never met my youngest child? Sometimes you have to let them experience it for themselves. It hurts, but that journey can lead to growth and a better appreciation for those who truly care. Not the a-hole. Your daughter is old enough to understand the consequences of her actions. It's important to set boundaries and maintain them, even if it means cutting off financial support. Hopefully, she will come to realize the gravity of her words and actions and learn from this experience. As for your family, ultimately it's your decision as a parent and they should respect that. I agree. Your daughter is desperate for the approval of the parent who rejected her all these years. It's common. But after living with your ex full-time, your daughter will eventually see that she is not a suitable parent and realize how good she had it. It will take time. As for your family, it's easy for them to judge, but they are not experiencing the day-to-day situation that you and your wife are. Ignore them, not the a-hole. Now for the updates. So a lot of you have been advising me to give her the college fund, and I think I agree. I shall give her the college fund, but I will not ask her to come back to me. That's her own free will, I guess. Update 2. Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. I didn't expect to have an update so quickly, but a lot has happened in just the past few hours. About an hour after I posted, I got a message from Emma asking if we could meet up. She suggested a nearby coffee shop, and although I was unsure of what to expect, I agreed to meet her. When I arrived, I could tell right away that something was different. Emma looked exhausted and stressed, not at all like the confident person who left our home. She told me that her time with her bio mom had been a disaster. Not only had her mom treated her coldly, but she also demanded an exorbitant amount of money for rent, far more than Emma could afford. It became clear to Emma that her mom wasn't interested in having a real relationship with her, just in using her for financial gain. Emma was visibly upset as she apologized for the way she had treated me and my wife. She admitted that she'd made a huge mistake and asked if she could come back home. It was obvious she was genuinely remorseful, and she said she realized now how much we had done for her. I told her that I'm willing to work on rebuilding our relationship, but it's going to take time and effort on both sides. We discussed setting some boundaries and working through the issues that led to all of this in the first place. She agreed, and we left the coffee shop with a plan to move forward, one step at a time. It's not going to be an easy road, but I'm hopeful that we can heal from this and come out stronger on the other side. I'm still processing everything, but I'm relieved that Emma wants to make things right. I also agreed to pay for her college, and she is really happy now, by the way. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my son-in-law move his new girlfriend and her 10 kids into my daughter's home? 1 decade ago, I, 64 female, bought a large 7-bedroom house for my daughter and her husband, 35 male, after they found out they were expecting a baby. My darling daughter and granddaughter tragically passed away 8 years ago in an accident. The loss of the 2 most important people in our lives was the most devastating time my son-in-law and I had ever experienced. In these past few years, I have gotten closer with my son-in-law, and I consider him the closest thing I have left to a child. I allowed him to keep living the house I'd bought. 4.5 years ago, he met his current girlfriend, 34 female, at a grief support group, and they began dating. She had 4 children, 17 female, 14 female, 12 male, and 5 male, from 3 previous relationships. She'd also adopted her stepchildren, 11 female and 9 male, she had from her late husband. Since they started dating, she has also become the guardian of her younger siblings, 10 female and 7 male, and her eldest daughter had a son who is now 4 months old. My son-in-law has seen as a father figure to his girlfriend's kids. He looks after them while she works, sometimes drives them to and from school, helps take care of the baby, and does the things a father would typically do. Honestly, I never thought it would last this far. His girlfriend has been going through a lot of financial problems. She lives in a small 3-bedroom apartment and relies heavily on my son-in-law for money. In the past year, she has quit her 2nd and 3rd job due to the money she gets from him. His girlfriend recently found out she was pregnant, and he decided that this was his sign to take their relationship further and move his girlfriend and soon-to-be 10 kids into the home. I said, absolutely no chance. I bought this home for my daughter and granddaughter. He argued that I'd previously promised to allow his future family live in the house. Well, I knew that he would have to move on eventually. I said that assuming he wouldn't date a single mother of 10 kids. I said she was using him as a way of providing for a litter of kids, and he was disrespecting my daughter by moving a woman like her into my daughter's home. He said his girlfriend was having his baby, and he had a duty to take responsibility. He said she's a hard-working woman who overcame a troubled upbringing and cares about children, even if they're not biologically hers. I told him that the house was legally still mine, and I refused to let her move in. He claimed that they were in a long-committed relationship, and moving in together was long overdue. I said they could do what they want, as long as she stays out of my daughter's house. He accused me of being judgmental and elitist. Am I the a-hole? You know, she may be an incredibly compassionate person, but she has 10 kids, 4 by ones, so she, knows how this works. I get that birth control can fail, but you'd think someone responsible for 10 kids would make sure in every possible way not to get pregnant. But suddenly she's with a financially stable guy, without a mortgage, and a 7-bedroom house, and whoops! She may be deeply kind, but she's also irresponsible, and so is he. Seriously, does no one care for these kids' stability? Anyway, irresponsible people are not who you want in a house you own. Plus, 11 kids and 2 adults. That house will be trashed. So while I don't love your judgment of her, it's not without merit. And if he isn't listed as an owner, he has no rights to the house, and you have to protect your investment. Not the a-hole. 4 biological children, and the one she had at 17 just had her own kid at 17. Opie sounds pretty judgmental of the girlfriend's choices, but honestly, if solely for the stability of all these kids, I'm feeling pretty judgmental myself, not gonna lie. 4 bio kids out of 3 relationships at 34. Now preparing the 5th bio kid, her 17-year-old already a mom. I am sorry for the children, but I understand Opie's frustration and decision. Not the a-hole. I am sorry for your loss, Opie. I wonder where the fathers of her earlier children are. You need to sell the house and cut ties with this guy. He's trying his luck. You don't owe him anything. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for excluding my older sister for having parentification trauma? My 35 female younger siblings, 34 female, 31 male, 31 female, and 30 male, were practically raised by our older sister, 40 female. Neither of our parents were there for us, so she had to act like a mother to us despite being a child herself. She never had time for studying, socializing, or hobbies, and both her grades and her mental health were greatly affected. She started working at age 13 and dropped out of school at 16 to work full-time to support us. Due to her childhood, she can't handle being around children at all. They trigger her trauma, and she starts crying, panicking, and having anxiety attacks. We all tried to be supportive of her. The thing is, between the 5 of us, we have 16 children aged between 7 months and 12 years. We all live in the same town, and we try to spend time with our sister, but we have to look after our kids too.
Anytime we invite her to family gatherings, she refuses to come if our kids are around. The thing is, we can't just leave our kids every time she wants to hang out, and we can't ban our own children from family events. She would complain every time we refuse to have a child-free event and say we need to include her more. Eventually, we stopped inviting her to events. My sister was furious with us for excluding her. She called us ungrateful for sacrificing her childhood to raise us. She accused us for abandoning her just like our parents did, and said it wasn't fair for her to be ostracized from such a close-knit family after all that she'd done for us. Of course I'm grateful for what she did, but I can't ignore my own kids. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Everyone sucks here. She's holding all of you responsible for your parents' bad behavior. That's unfair. I assume here that she's tried therapy to resolve her feelings as much as possible because avoiding children in life is pretty impossible. However, you and your siblings should still be extending invitations, regardless of whether you know she will decline or complain. The ball needs to stay in her court to maintain these relationships. And in the interim, or forever if she can't get past this, you and your siblings should make time for her, either in small groups or one-on-one. Not every date in life has to include kids. As a parentified older sister, she has to deal with her trauma. It's not fair to her, it's not fair to you, it's not fair to anyone. My siblings have all kind of admitted now that I have trauma related to being parentified. Unfortunately, we are not close siblings. I can't play the role they need in their life anymore. Also a parentified oldest daughter, and I feel this only works if the younger siblings have healed their relationship as well. Oldest daughters end up excommunicated because in order to hold space for her trauma, the younger kids need to recognize that the parents were, willing or otherwise, villains. My younger sister thinks I'm just bossy and neurotic and it came out the blue. Not that my parents would beat me if sis didn't clean the house. There's no relationship there. We're all adults, and she still expects me to solve her problems. Now we are no contact. My brother can hold space for both my parents' feelings and mine. So when we're together, we aren't trapped in childhood sibling dynamic. It's not clear how Opie and the other siblings are aware of how, even as adults, they can perpetuate trauma and toxic dynamics. You're the a-hole. Assuming you or some of your siblings work, you find 40 hours a week to be away from your kids. But somehow you can't organize 4 hours a month to get together with a sister who raised you? And it's pretty disgusting that you've set up in your own head that if you do organize something with your sister, that you would be ignoring your own kids. Your sister needs therapy to overcome her trauma. Cutting her off will not help. Ultimately, it is her responsibility to get help. But if you and your siblings would regularly meet with her, over time she'll be happy to hear about your kids. And who knows, you might even plan something with your sister and the older kids to go to the zoo, or something your sister can handle. Last story. Am I the a-hole for taking over a family therapy session with my rant? I'm 16 male, currently in family therapy with my dad, his wife, my sister 14, and step-siblings 10, 9, and 7. This blended family thing is pretty new still, with my dad being remarried for 2 years. My mom died, so I only have one home. And I'll be honest, I was never excited or really into the whole blended family thing. But I know that's not my decision. All 3 of my step-siblings have food allergies. 2 have bad ones. So the way we eat changed a lot. This included places we eat at that were a part of traditions. For most of my life, we'd eat at this local noodle bar in town for the end of the school year and whenever we had a school thing. Play, graduation, report card, etc. And we're not allowed to go there anymore because of the allergies. Even just with Dad, it's a no-go. We can't bring ice cream into the house anymore because my step-siblings can't eat it. Only my dad and his wife can prepare food, so no more making a sandwich for myself either. Birthdays have changed. My sister and I can no longer eat at our preferred restaurant of choice because of my step-siblings, and we can't bring my favorite dish into the house either. So now, it's a place that my step-siblings love and is acceptable for their allergies. For 2 years, Dad has talked about how glad we are to make all these changes and how family is worth it. About 4 months ago, his wife noticed my sister and I weren't engaged with the family in the way she thought would be. We didn't want to talk to her. She also noticed my sister had cut me and her out of some photos of all of us and used just me and her for her room's art wall. So she and Dad decided we needed some family therapy. Since we started about 2 months ago officially, there's been a lot of what's the problem? Why are we there? Explain the problem. And my dad has also talked about all the good from a blended family, and changes were mentioned. And he talks about how happy we all are to make them. Well, last week, I got so sick of it. And the therapist asked me if I was truly okay with them. And I went off. I said, no, I'm not. That I hate the changes. That it's unfair. That I never said I wanted my step-siblings to celebrate my birthday more than I wanted my favorite foods. That these things were decided for me. I said I never would have made that decision because celebrating with them isn't important to me. I'd rather have a good time with the people I love and enjoy food that I love instead. And that I hate not being able to make a sandwich or buy snacks after school. I basically went off for the whole session, between a rant and answering questions the therapist put to me. My dad is so mad at me for doing it, and his wife was really upset because her kids heard it. But she was also upset because she accepted on some level I didn't want this ever. She's also kinda mad that I took up a whole session with my rant. Am I the a-hole? Ugh, entitled parents. Kiddo, you're here asking if you were wrong to use the therapy you were shoved into. No, sweetheart, you're not wrong for that, nor for any of your feelings around your step-family. It was not your choice for them to join your family, and had your father not pushed this, you likely would not have been as against this. It's not your fault you weren't considered in this life-changing choice. I do not believe you can tell your dad not to date, marry, or whatever. But your dad, likewise, cannot demand that you be okay with choices made without you. Not a-hole, and your dad needs to back off, unless he wants to lose you and your sister. Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't tell him not to marry, and I can't ask him to stay single just because mom died. I always got that. But he just assumed he could say we were a family and suddenly would love these people and want them and see them like he did. Not the a-hole at all. You and your sister are the unhappy ones, so it's only natural that the focus will, at least initially, be disproportionately on the feelings of the two of you. Did your dad's wife expect the therapist would spend hours listening to her gushing about how happy she is that she's getting her way so much? She thought we'd bring up things that are, in her words, workable or fixable. That's what she told Dad when I heard them talk about it. But she realizes it's deeper because it's not like we, me and my sister, wanted to be a blended family. And she realizes I don't love her and her kids, which for her isn't a workable problem. I'm not even sure what she meant exactly. I guess something that's easy to fix.
Am I the a-hole for not wanting to house my pregnant sister anymore? I am absolutely furious about this right now. My sister is 19, and she's 4 months pregnant. Father bailed and kicked her out of his place as soon as she told him, and my parents live on the other side of the country. She goes to school here in our state, so she doesn't want to move back to our tiny little town. Since she didn't have a place to stay, my wife and I offered to let her live with us until after the baby got here. It wasn't ideal, but we have the room and the money to let it happen. First thing I told my sister when she came here, whatever you need, tell me and I'll help you. First thing I told her because I didn't want her worrying about things for the baby or food. We still have all our baby furniture, /toys, /clothes from when our son was born in our garage and in good condition. It's barely been over 2 months, and on the first week, my wife was complaining because she couldn't find her earrings. Didn't think anything of it. Stuff like that is easy to lose sometimes. But then, it started to add up. First, her earrings, then one of my watches, a necklace, a pair of new shoes that we bought for our son, some of my wife's jewelry, my class ring. All this stuff was going missing, and it didn't click for me until I noted a few missing $20 bills from my wallet. At first, I thought maybe it was my son, but honestly, the kid's 7 and still too honest. He cried once after he took an extra donut from the table and confessed immediately, so I doubted he was the culprit. I confronted my sister, and it took a lot of grilling before she fessed up. Her defense was, she just wanted to make a little extra cash on the side for the baby. I was so furious with her. After telling her to come to me for anything she needs with the baby, she resorted to going behind my back and stealing from my family? I explained just how wrong she was to do this after she's had a roof over her head, food, and being told to come to us with whatever she needs help with. She apologized many times, but I told her she was going to have to pack her bags and leave. I'll give her 2 weeks to find a new place, but she better be gone by then. That just upset my sister more. She begged me to give her a second chance, but feel like the trust has been broken. She wanted to stay here to continue school. She'll have to find a way to support herself. If she can't, then she can move back with our parents. Speaking of parents, they've been on top of me for the last few days over this, that I can't just kick her out when she has a child on the way. I've explained what she was doing. However, they still think I'm wrong here and need to give her another chance. The issue is, how will we know that she won't be more sneaky about it? It's just not a risk I'm willing to take, and my wife is just as upset about this as I am. That hasn't stopped my parents from berating me all the time over our choice, and now I'm not sure I'm being the a-hole instead of giving her another chance. Now for the top comments. Definitely not the a-hole. She stole multiple times from you and your wife. That means she has already had a second chance and a third chance, etc. to redeem herself. I would not want a thief in my house. She can go live with your parents and steal from them if they feel so strongly about it. I'm so sick of people asking for second chances after they've already wasted more than 2 chances. One of my favorite lines I've discovered on Reddit is "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." And I feel it fits well here. Yep, she played the "how much can I steal before they notice" game and won a swift kick in the pants out of there. Seems fair to me. I mean, it sucks she's pregnant, but that should have been her concern when she chose to steal, not Opie's concern when he needs to protect his wife and child. Not an a-hole. She's lucky you haven't reported her to the police. Her parents are also a-holes by trying to guilt you into continuing to house her. I assume this is because they don't want to take responsibility for her themselves. They do. It's my sister that doesn't want to move all the way back over there because she's still going to school here. Not an a-hole. I have a feeling being pregnant isn't the only reason the boyfriend kicked her out. It may very well have simply been the last straw. I wonder what her story will be of how she came to leave your home. The thefts are only what you have discovered so far. What else is missing that you haven't discovered yet? Things in storage? That kitchen gadget you never use? Art? You need to lock your credit down. If she had access to your files, social security number, DL, BC, and such, I would not be surprised that she has open credit cards in yours, or your wife's, or your son's name. Do you have any accounts in your son's name? Savings bonds? Education fund? Check them. Are they intact? And since your parents are so determined that a thief to be housed in someone else's dime, buy her a one-way ticket to their place and ship her belongings. It will be cheaper in the long run. Lock down anything of value. You've now given her 14 days to ransack your place. Any way at all for you to get any of your things back? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend to grow up? Me, 23 male, and my girlfriend, 27 female, have been together for about 5 years, and 3 years into the relationship we had a child. For context, he wasn't a planned child by any means, as we had taken birth control measures. Early on, I wore protection, and then she started taking birth control. Neither of us know how the child happened, but we accepted that it happened and moved on. I finished up the last little bit of college I had and found a job before the baby arrived. She stopped working as my income was now enough, and now stays home with the baby, as we discussed that was what would be best. In the following year, since the birth of my son, my girlfriend has grown increasingly more intolerant. At first, she was elated, wanted to show him off, and was happy to deal with everything. Then it grew to her being annoyed by small things. She wanted me to change every diaper. We split them once I'm home and during off days, and was annoyed by everything our son did. Flash forward to now, and contrary to the saying terrible twos, he tends to be very well behaved. He doesn't cry that much, he adapted to potty training quickly and well, and he doesn't really fuzz. My girlfriend has been going out a lot. I don't have a problem with it because everyone needs time to have fun and relax. This night was a night she went out. A few nights ago, my son came to my side of the bed. He woke me up and told me that he peed in his sleep. I told him it was okay. I woke up my girlfriend and told her and asked her to clean him up quickly while I went and cleaned it. She took a minute to wake up, so I went ahead and left to go clean it up. In the middle of it, I heard her screaming at our son. I go in there and ask her why she's screaming at him, and she responds that it's because he peed the bed. I told her his too, and that accidents happen. This shouldn't be a moment to scold him and scream. She said that since I could be better, I should do it. So I helped him get cleaned up, and then cleaned up in his room, and by that time he fell asleep on the couch. I covered him up and went back to my room. When I got back is when the argument started. I told her that I shouldn't have to handle that alone because she can't control her anger. She told me that since I was such a good parent, I should quit my job and stay at home, and she should go work since she's so horrible. She went on with this for about 5 minutes, before telling me she regrets having our son. A little shocked, I told her she didn't have a way of finding a job capable of supporting us, and that she proposed the idea of her staying home when he was born. I told her she needed to grow up, because the way she was acting will be something he remembers. Ever since, we've barely spoke, and now I'm wondering if I took it too far. I think rather than posting on Reddit about this one argument, you need to see the bigger picture. Your girlfriend is struggling, and clearly not coping well as a stay-at-home mom. You too need to figure this out. Perhaps she needs some therapy to work through her anger towards her son. Could well be postpartum depression. Perhaps you two need to find a way for her to return to work. This is much bigger than one late-night argument, and it needs resolving ASAP. All of this, I immediately thought of PPD. This woman is struggling and needs help ASAP. Not just her, the kid needs help too. If this is what she does when Dad around, imagine how she's acting when home alone with him. Not the a-hole, but I think there may be different things involved. Your girlfriend may be regretting the lost years of being pregnant, plus having a child. Perhaps she wants to pursue a career. Can you afford to send your kid to a daycare center if she looks for a job? Maybe she's looking to find her identity and not just as a mother. It may be a bunch of things. I'd suggest talking about it, about what you both want, what you're both able to do given the circumstances, and what things you both need to negotiate/give up because you both decided to have a child. And I know it's a moot comment, but congrats on being pretty grounded and growing up so quickly. Not every guy I know would have reacted like you did. Even a part-time job and Mother's Day out. She needs a break in counseling stat. Even if she'd agree to family counseling, that would be a huge improvement. She's drowning. Please give her a lifeline. PPD can appear up to 2 years after the birth of a child. I don't think this is a a-hole question. I think that your girlfriend needs a doctor. She's literally saying the trademark PPD spiel right now, especially if she was excited to be a mother before now. I think you need to prioritize getting her to a doctor. Treat this seriously, and it's an urgent condition that needs attention right away. Take a sick leave from work if you have to, and consider finding alternate care for your son until you can get her into her GP. We explored postpartum depression when she began getting annoyed at small things. Doctor said the past 1 year, it's extremely rare for it to be postpartum, and she didn't believe it was postpartum additionally, because the only real symptom she showed was getting annoyed at our son. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for saying that being a mother will not be my identity? A little background. I'm 25 female, 7 months pregnant with me and my boyfriend's first child. My boyfriend, 28 male, and I got pregnant pretty quick after getting together, 2 months, so everything for us moved really quickly. My problem lies with our living situation. I grew up in a city, as did he. We moved a little outside of it when I found out I was pregnant, so we could save a little better and prepare. We went to visit our friends one day, 2 hours outside of the city, and wouldn't you know it, his car broke down. So we ended up staying with the said friends, and ultimately moving in with them as I would provide childcare for friend's kid in turn for rent. I was under the impression we would be moving back, because that's what I was told from the start. Today, I'm back in the city and living with my mom because the pressure of constantly needing to socialize with roommates got too much for me. There are other issues there. Friends always fighting with her husband. Friend is always blaming my boyfriend for everything that goes wrong. Just a toxic environment I didn't want to be part of. Boyfriend started talking about apartments up there, but I said I didn't want to stay living there. He said he didn't want to move back to the city. I said there aren't many opportunities for me job-wise up there, and he told me it's okay. He can provide for our family and I can be a stay-at-home mom. This kind of took me by surprise. I told him I can't not work. I'd go insane. I told him I wanted a career and I wanted our son to grow up with every opportunity, including the diversity of the city. He said it's okay, I just need to focus on being a mom. I told him being a mom isn't going to be my identity, and I still have my own life outside of the family, as does he. He got so mad. He ignored me for 2 weeks without returning my texts or phone calls. I haven't seen him for a month now, and is acting like I'm a terrible person for even considering that. Am I the a-hole here? I feel like it shouldn't be my job to be the only parent, but he's my first kid, so I'm not sure if I'm overreacting or being a bad mom. This whole situation has made me feel like I shouldn't have gone along with the pregnancy because my feelings and desires became bottom of the list. Now for the top comments. Red flags galore, girl. He is expecting your identity to disappear within your family and not returning your calls or texts for 2 weeks. At this point, you'd be better off a single parent in the city. Not the a-hole. Agreed, not the a-hole. If he ignores you for 2 weeks, that should be enough of a sign. Had my last ex ignored me for 3. Thankfully, he replied when I told her I wanted my stuff back. I got it and blocked her on everything. Also, it's not just ignoring his girlfriend for 2 weeks. It's ignoring his 7 months pregnant girlfriend for 2 weeks. That's just ridiculous. What if she had issues, or appointment changes, or, well, anything? I think you know you're not the a-hole. I think you also know that this relationship is not going well. Ignoring your very pregnant girlfriend for 2 weeks is a red flag, as is insisting on you being a stay-at-home mom. How long can you stay with your mom? Because honestly, I think you need to prepare for the possibility that you are doing the single. Work on looking for a job and finding a place for you and the baby to live in the city. Hopefully, he comes around and can, at the very least, co-parent like an adult. Also, the decision-making of having your car break down somewhere so then you just live there? I know it's not the biggest issue here, but isn't that a little odd? Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for calling my wife irresponsible? My wife, 25 female and I, 26 male, have a baby girl that just turned 2, who we'll call Zoe. My wife loves cosmetics. She'll practice a lot and says she's even thinking about starting a makeup artist business. However, she lately has been wanting to practice makeup on Zoe, which I was cautious about but didn't mind as long as it wasn't a full face, nor could she do it every day. She agreed to that. The next day, I heard Z whimpering in her room, so I decided to check on her, and I saw that her skin was terrible. She had a really bad rash and blistering in her face. Her left eye was swollen. Her skin was very irritated, and she kept scratching, making it more irritated. I quickly got us both dressed and rushed to the doctor's office, and it ended up being contact dermatitis. 1 hour after the appointment, my wife came home excited, saying she can't wait to do another makeover on Zoe, and that she bought new products for her to try. I confronted her and demanded that she tells me what did she put on Zoe's face. She admits to me that it was a full face of makeup while I was at work, and that they even went out to the park so others can see her talent. I called her crazy and irresponsible because now our daughter has contact dermatitis, and that she broke our agreement. She got upset with me, calling her irresponsible, and lashed out at me, saying she was only trying to make her look pretty, and that she wanted Zoe to have a passion for makeup like she does, since she doesn't even pay attention to it. So now I'm wondering, am I the a-hole for calling my wife irresponsible? Not the a-hole. Your daughter is not a doll. Calling your wife irresponsible is an insult to responsible people. Jesus Christ. I have 3 kids who love makeup, /dress up, /nail stuff. The most I usually put on them, youngest is 4, is some blush, eyeshadow and lipstick, not even once a month. A couple times I've let the almost 8-year-old use mascara because she feels left out not getting shadow/blush because of her sensitive skin. We are very careful taking it off to avoid her eyes. A full face of makeup on a 2-year-old? What the hell is wrong with her? My mom let me play with it infrequently at best, until I was old enough to understand what I wanted. This is a whole other nightmare. Not day haul. I'm a makeup artist, and I was taught to never, ever put makeup on children, especially babies. For that reason specifically, and because baby skin is still so new and sensitive, and you're damaging it by putting unnecessary products on it that were never meant for babies or even toddlers. Your baby cannot say no, and your baby cannot fight back against your wife. And your wife is treating your baby like a mannequin that should be decorated and showed off. This is not okay, and it needs to stop. I'd also like to add that it's incredibly messed up that her reason was to make her look pretty. Like there's just so much wrong. Not day haul. A 2-year-old should not be dealing with makeup like that at all. Why does a toddler have to look pretty? They're toddlers. Your wife is hurting your kid and is also imparting bad lessons onto her. This has to stop before she causes serious damage, physical and mental. She needs a wake-up call, fast. If she wants to be an artist on your kid's face, have her learn how to face paint. With the correct products, toddlers love sparkles and rainbows anyway. But otherwise, she can get a model head and practice on that. Edited to add, also, your daughter doesn't like the way it feels, and it's hurting. So, your wife is pretty much guaranteeing that her child will hate makeup of all kinds if she keeps this up.